Welcome to At the Table, a play reading series, brought to you by Charging Moose Media. This week, we're sitting down with the playwright of Prometheus Shrugs and Indelible, John Bavoso. Be sure to listen to these fantastic plays and our interview with the cast on previous episodes. Enjoy!
Welcome back to At the Table. We are so excited to be interviewing our playwright today because we just got finished recording 2 short plays by John Bavoso, who's here with us today.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. We just finished recording Indelible and Prometheus Shrugs with Vishal Vaidya, with Liz Wasser, and with Nick Lehan. Does he go by Nick Lehan? We'll have to ask.
I don't know. We'll fix it later.
Nicholas Lehan.
Nick Lehan. He goes by both.
Mm-hmm. And it also is like Vishal, who I've never called anything other than Vish. But all 3 of them just doing beautiful, beautiful work on truly these lovely plays, John.
Oh, thank you.
We read all the submissions come in, and Rachel and I split readings, and then we discussed, and she came on and she was like, I want to do Prometheus Shrugs. And I was like, oh my God, me too. I have a problem. And she's like, what? And I was like, there's another piece by the same guy that I love. And she was like, stop it. And so then we started debating which one we were going to do. And then we were like, if we're debating this, they're 10-minute pieces. Let's just do both.
I love that solution. That's
yeah, you like
debate.
the solution where we do more of your work, and I respect that. I think that's
yeah. This is the kind of fighting that I like to hear.
Yeah, how dare you for the quality of all of your work and not just some of your work being so delightful.
John, I have your website up, and I just want to read a quick thing, and then I want you to introduce yourself to the crowd. But I just want everyone to know, publicly, John presents himself in a way that I find truly wonderful, which is at john-bavoso.com. John Bavoso, writer, marketer, aspiring wrangler of unicorns. Hi, John.
Hello.
Is there a training process for that, or is the aspiration the central aspect of the hobby?
You know, I feel like that came first, but I feel like I can like back into it and try to make it like profound or related to theater or playwriting.
Sure.
But really, I just like unicorns.
Sure.
Like my desk at work looks like a Lisa Frank store exploded on it. You know, I have like coworkers who are like, I brought you these stickers. My 3-year-old daughter has outgrown them, and I thought you would love them. And I was like, you are absolutely correct.
You were like you are.
That's the wheelhouse.
Yeah, like fully. There's a thing a couple years ago where like you could look up like what demographics Google thinks you are, like based on like your searches and like your activity online. It like fully thinks I am like a 19-year-old straight girl. And so, which is, you know, aspirational, but yeah. So
that's wonderfully fantastic. How are you? We should start with. We usually start with who are you, but how are you? Maybe we should make that the thing all the time.
I'm doing pretty well. I was going to say I can't complain, but usually I say people who say that just aren't trying hard enough. But yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have a full-time job that's steady. I can stay home, do it from home. The only thing is I have a studio apartment and I live alone. And so I'm kind of just like desperately longing for like another room to swan into occasionally, like for variety. Yeah. But so it's basically like, right now, my whole world is like my bed, my desk, and my chair, and I can like touch all 3 of them at the same time. They're so close to each other. So, but otherwise, you know, very fortunate in terms of where I'm at. So,
and you're in DC, yeah?
Yep, I'm in DC. Actually, grew up in New York State.
Oh, where in New York State?
It's a town called Port Jervis. It's right where New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania meet.
Yeah.
So there's like a Port Jervis line at like a New Jersey Transit that ends in like Port Jervis. So it's like 90 minutes north and west of the city. We could take the train in, and my parents are still there and my brother. So, but I've been in DC for about 13 years now.
Where in DC are you?
So I'm in Woodley Park, which is like by the zoo, by Adams Morgan. So it's a really great neighborhood. Yeah, I kind of came here from grad school 13 years ago and loved it and haven't left since. So
nice.
And how's DC doing? I mean, I know that we're all kind of hiding inside, but how is DC doing?
I think DC's doing okay. certainly, at least at this point, haven't been hit nearly as badly as New York and some other places. So, obviously, I hope you guys are doing well. But yeah,
we're making a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So our priorities are fine.
I think it's mostly surreal. I mean, I think DC is a town where you do have quite a few people, who either work for the federal government or, white collar kind of jobs where people can work from home. So again, obviously a smaller theater community than New York, but, going through a lot of the same things here. Have a lot of actor friends who rely on different gigs that have all sort of gone away. And so, I think people are making the best of it.
And it's a vibrant theater community. I mean, it was really, when I was graduating undergrad and I was really looking where I wanted to go, it was New York, DC, LA, and I spent time in all of the above. And I ended up deciding New York purely because it was a little bit closer to get home to Maine if I wanted to. But other than that, I loved my time in DC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And, I'm actually relatively, I'd say, within the last 5 years, new to theater, basically, period. And so, I've never actually formally studied theater in any way. I just sort of actually started reviewing theater first. And then after doing that for a few years, just woke up one day and decided I wanted to write a play and then self-produced it. And then
congrats.
Didn't hate it. Yeah.
Tell us about that. Shout out to what's the play?
What was that first play?
So the play is called Elysia. It has 4 characters, but it's essentially a two-hander between 2 women named Lizzie and Olivia. And so Elysia, I hate titling things, so I just went with that. But yeah, and so I'd basically been freelance reviewing plays for the Capital Fringe Festival for a website here in DC. There are a couple websites here in DC that review every single Fringe Festival play. So they take on, freelancers each year. And I did that a couple years. And, and the Capital Fringe Festival is basically, first come, first serve, non-juried. I wrote this play. It was about, because of the Fringe Festival rules, it was about 70 minutes, no intermission. Basically found some friend, had no idea what I was doing, which is, I think, the only reason I could do it. Found a friend who agreed to direct. He ended up actually also being an actor. So it was truly the 5 of us, and it was Fringe. So it was tech was an hour the day we opened. I'd never seen a lighting board or sound equipment before. And I just created and I ran quote unquote lights and sound myself. No idea what I was doing, but really enjoyed it. And, we got reviewed a couple times and it wasn't terrible. And so then I was just kind of all right, well, I want to keep doing this. I already have a master's degree that I don't use and that I'm paying for the next 30 years. So
sure,
can't go back to school for it. So, I've just kind of been gleefully fumbling my way through theater since then. So
what was your grad work in if it wasn't theater?
So I went to American University's School of International Service.
Cool.
And got an international affairs degree. Yeah, master's, which I loved earning, but sort of as I was finishing it, realized that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. The thing I enjoyed was more the writing, and the jobs that involved writing weren't necessarily in international affairs. So yeah. And so basically, I was from that first experience, just sort of basically essentially self-taught, reading a lot of plays on my own. I joined a theater company here in DC called Pinky Swear Productions, which is a feminist theater company.
Yeah.
And they took me on as an associate. They took on a class of associates, which is basically you're a part of the company for a year. And then if you want to keep going and they want to keep going, you can become a full member. And so I was I need to learn, I did musicals in high school as an actor, but I was a guy, so basically I just showed up and got a part. And so yes. there was no real talent involved or craft.
I have a whole career based on that reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations to the 2 of you.
Yeah, I love those tweets or memes that went around that was every girl in a High School Musical has been through 4,000 hours of training at the most rigorous, and all the guys are the drama teacher told you after school that you had to be in it, so you were in the musical. So
yeah. I played lacrosse and my mom had a theater degree.
There you go. So I was like, yes, I was like, well, I should probably like figure out how theater actually works. And so joined up with this company, and actually like the first, I do marketing for my day job. So I did a lot of marketing for the company, but I also assistant stage managed for a couple of the shows.
Cool.
So I was in basically the room for like every rehearsal, saw the whole process, got really good at lacing and unlacing corsets really quickly. And then I've just been, writing different lengths of plays and sending them all over the place, and have been very lucky. So fully bit by the theater bug.
And where did these two pieces come out of? Are they recent? Were they written presumably not together? I'm curious what the genesis of this was.
Yeah, I think they were both written last year sometime, but separately. Indelible's the most recent one. I always joke that I write 10-minute plays to procrastinate writing full-length plays. Prometheus Shrugs actually was inspired by a tweet that I'd seen. Someone had randomly tweeted, and there was like, it's like, I hope Prometheus and the bird that eats his liver had like, developed a strong rapport or something like that. And I laughed and I retweeted it, but it like stuck in my brain and just sort of rattled around in there. And, I don't write autobiographically, but there are, parts of me, I think, in each play. And so this play specifically was kind of written. So I have, in normal times, I have a 1 hour each way, like metro commute to work. And so I believe actually this play was written either on my phone or in a notebook on the train, basically. And so, just a lot of ideas about, it basically kind of was like, what if it's Prometheus and the eagle, and they're basically like coworkers who are like sick of the routine kind of thing.
Amazing.
And that's, and sort of that's where it came about. And it was just really fun because then I got to tap into my, I was that elementary school kid who like carried around like the D'O'Leary's book of Greek myths. I was that kid.
Yep.
And so, I got to tap into that and really have a lot of fun with like playing with those references and things.
I love that this was written on the Metro. That is fantastic. That's delightful.
Yeah.
You also have to, in DC, to distract yourself from the fact that you're not allowed to have a coffee with you, which I think is...
That's a crime against humanity.
Yeah, no food, no drink.
I got a ticket for carrying a paper coffee cup on the Metro in DC, and I thought the cop was joking, so I tried to walk away. And he was like, you have to throw that out.
Wow.
And I was like...
I don't think I've ever actually heard of anyone getting an actual ticket for it. Wow, that's impressive.
A real part of the story that happened was I was actually leaving the Metro at the stop in Southwest where I was living. And I was so excited at the time. The reason I'd stopped is because I was doing a show at Arena and my face was on a poster. So I was taking a picture of my own face, delaying myself when a cop came up and was like, you have to throw that out. And I thought he was joking. And so I tried to leave. And so I'm standing in front of my own face, getting yelled at by a cop. Anyway, I'm so glad that you found a way to distract yourself by creating art instead of being sad about the lack of caffeine, which I think is a crime.
Yeah. And that's what I do try to use that time. I always have a notebook with me. I've written whole like reviews of plays, like in the notes section of my phone. Often I'm just sleeping, or listening to podcasts. Every once in a while, it's like I have the time. I'm not going anywhere. Can't go anywhere. So, it's good time to kind of write.
And how about Indelible? That one came via the same
Indelible,
mechanism? Or?
Yeah, Indelible came after, although I probably had the idea for it first. So my writing process is I tend to write fairly quickly once I start writing, but it can take forever to get to the point where I like feel like I'm ready to write or like know what the structure is.
Same.
So especially for like full lengths, usually the idea for a full length is rattling around in my brain for like, could literally be years until it's like, I just wake up one day and I'm like, oh, okay, this is like the ending and this is the structure. And so Indelible, I think actually came from, a thing I do when I have a full length play produced, I get a tattoo for it. I only have about 2, so we'll see how that, how long.
But can you send us a picture of that to put up on our website? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have like one on each arm right now. So I have an Elysia one, which is a typewriter, and then I have one for my latest full length play that got produced here and in Florida, and I got one for that too. So So it's like my air quotes body of work. And so
Yes!
Oh my God.
Yes!
My mother is horrified. She hates everything about it. But yeah. And I originally, so the Elysia one is actually just a typewriter with Elysia under it, because I thought I would just add titles underneath it. And then when Blight, which is the other play, got produced, I was like, no, I want like a full tattoo of that. So I think I was like in the shop, like getting the tattoo, and, you know, they have all the pictures of the different designs on the walls. And, you know, I just saw, you know, they have like the heart with like the names in it. And I was like, and for whatever reason, I saw it and just my brain went to like, imagine like getting that with someone else's name on it, but like not informing them that it's going to happen. And like, what would that person feel like? And so then I wanted to, you know, and then I kind of came up with the scenario, and yeah. And so, and that one, especially, you know, you talk about sort of, you know, these being lighter, which is nice. Cause especially in my full lengths, there's a reading of one of my recent full lengths, and the AD afterward was like, oh, you like to write fights. And I was like, I do. And they're usually, you know, fairly no holds barred. And so I was like, you know, this is like a fight, but I wanted it to be not so heavy. You know, I wanted to be like a lighter, more upbeat kind of fight, you know, so definitely try to keep it light and not get dark and twisty with it. So, you know, that's how that one kind of came about too. So
very cool. The love between those two characters is one of my favorite parts of Indelible. Like, one of my favorite things about shorts is that you can play with the sort of structure that would be allowable, that wouldn't be as allowable in a full length, right? So we get this sense of like, you can't have a 10-minute play that's 10 minutes of fight. And it's like, well, people do that all the time. Like, people fight for 10 minutes. That's what they do. We can pull that off, especially in a relationship, right? And the idea that you can play with a 10-minute fight that still is kind of shot through with this deep mutual caring and love. And what was it right before we started taping, the gentleman playing Marcus shouted like, I just love you, or something like that.
No, he went, we're a couple.
We're a couple. Right. At the gentleman playing Preston, and Ned joked that if either of the characters accidentally said that too early in your play, like that would be the end of the play, because that's
play's over. We're good here.
The central argument is not being able to
both
acknowledge
of them,
the thing.
Yeah, at least one of them would have some sort of panic attack immediately.
Sure, yeah.
So.
I also thought it was a really beautiful portrayal of a character with a panic disorder. Like, I loved that. I felt very personally beautifully called out in the middle, because I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and taking pictures of the stove is one of my central compulsions. So I was very excited.
Really?
To see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I feel seen. I love this like beautiful like moment of panic realism. Also, as an explanation of how he's dealing with the relationship. Really, really just...
Yeah, that's funny. That's the line where I think people always are like, wow. But then there's like actually, that's a good idea. Like, you know, there's like this moment of, you know, and again, that's, you know, I certainly not to a full extent, but like, that's definitely a part of me, is where I'm like, I'm definitely that person that like leaves the house and I was like, oh, apartment's probably going to be on fire by the time I get back, because I probably did something that was, you know, so yeah, that was definitely a part of me in there. So I'm glad that resonated.
Oh, 100%. So. Yeah. On behalf of my people, thank you. So what is next is a tough question, I know, right now, because the answer is what is next for the universe. But is there stuff going on for you that you're very excited about, personally, professionally, or was there maybe stuff you were excited about that might kind of future happen? Yeah,
sure. So I think right now I'm kind of, so I've never had like more than one full-length play, like unproduced and in development. I'm not a very fast writer, and I have a very time-consuming day job, so I don't spend all day writing. So it takes me a while to get a draft out. And so right now I have two sort of unproduced full lengths. One, which I mentioned before we were on mic, is about a podcast, and that one's called MLM is for Murder, or Your Side Hustle is Killing Us. And so that's basically sort of a dark, campy
how dare you
comedy.
Say you don't like titling and then come up with that title?
Well, and that's what, see, like I hate it so much that when I find one that I like, I just hold on to it for dear life, and don't let go. And so that one, that was kind of born from So I fell down two kind of internet rabbit holes, and one was sort of the anti-multi-level marketing movement, which if you don't know, that's like pyramid schemes. And this one's about a very well-known leggings brand that was very popular on social media a few years ago. And so, and also about true crime podcasts. And so I fell weirdly into like both of those communities online. And so ended up sort of just like smashing them together and writing a play about it. And so that one's a bit further along. That one's been lucky enough to have a couple readings. Had a reading here in DC, and then had a workshop production in December in Charleston, South Carolina, at Fifth Wall Productions. And then literally like 2 weeks before this all started, I was in St. Pete, Florida, at American Stage, and it was chosen. I had a reading as part of the 21st Century Voices New Play Festival. So
congratulations, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. So so basically just, continuing to kind of shop that one around, trying to get it in front of people and further develop it and do rewrites. And then a more recent full length that I finished, a draft of, actually started it before MLM is for Murder. MLM is for Murder basically popped into my head, and I was like, I need to write this now. So I put the other one on hold, came back to it, and finished it. And that one's called Camp Manapia, an alt mask comedy. So that's basically, and that's my first like pure kind of like slapstick like comedy, as opposed to like a dark campy comedy. But it's basically about teenagers at a masculinity camp in like the early 2000s, but it is a comedy. So is basically kind of like taking, and so that one's a lot newer. But that one, I haven't actually heard that one out loud yet. So I'm, was gonna put together like a living room reading or some kind of reading of that this spring. But which now might turn into, hopefully, at least a Zoom reading at some point. So, so just kind of, and then, trying to figure out, my next, the next full length, the next thing, trying to balance the like doing submissions and marketing and, and then also trying to come up with some new stuff. So hopefully, both of these were actually, both Prometheus Shrugs and Indelible. Prometheus Shrugs is going to be in a festival in Baltimore. It was supposed to be this spring, so not sure when that's going to be. And then Indelible was going to have its first production, or is eventually, at a theater company in Massachusetts. But yeah, so those are both supposed to be in like the May-ish timeframe. So I think both have said they're going to be postponed, not canceled. So hopefully, which that would be great because Prometheus Shrugs has been produced in Dubai and in Sydney. And so, but I haven't actually. There's a festival called Short and Sweet, which is like an international festival, and it's based out of Sydney, but they now have festivals all over the world, all over Australia, in Dubai. I think they just started their first one in the UK. They actually have one in LA now. And basically you submit a 10-minute play once and it gets considered for all of the festivals around the world. If it gets picked. So yeah. And it's also been really interesting because I think, the Prometheus Shrugs is the first play I've done where I didn't specify basically anything about the characters in terms of like age, race, gender. Like I left it fully open. And so, which has been really interesting because I think the Dubai production had 3 women actors and the Sydney production had 3 men. So, there's sort of any combination in there, which is really great. And the Sydney one was actually really great because, especially with a 10-minute play, usually they just kind of go up and you're like, I hope that happened. You're not really part of it. But my Sydney director was really great. And she actually, we had a call at the beginning. She had notes. She had questions about the script, which was also good because, and this is sort of, I think you have a revised version because I was very concerned about like, if a lot of the mythology references were too esoteric to be funny.
Sure.
And so she actually, she helped me kind of, some we either took out or like just explained a little more to so even if you're not totally familiar, then hopefully you could still get it. And she sent me like a video of the performance. So that was like a really great, I'm not used to really having much of a like development process for a 10-minute play. I feel like it's usually like it's done and then I send it out and it gets chosen or it doesn't. So but this is actually like a great process.
I truly love in Prometheus Shrugs, but this creature causes you like immeasurable pain every day.
Yeah.
It's called having a friend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
John, what in true at the table format, we usually ask people about snacks, but we're all at home cooking a lot of things, eating a lot of things, doing whatever. So the question has become, what is the snack or food that's getting you through the quarantine? We've had everything from popcorn to shepherd's pie, so there are no wrong answers.
Yeah, so mine for sure is, so I have a friend who actually directed my last full-length play that was done in DC. He's a great director. He's also a photographer.
Shout out his name. Who is this?
Ryan Maxwell. His name is.
What's up, Ryan Maxwell?
And, basically neither, event photography nor theater directing are really happening too much at the moment. So
nope.
He, like many people, apparently, according to the internet, decided to play with sourdough starter. And has essentially turned it into make a business, like a little side business to help earn some money. And so He delivers them locally and even, ships. And so basically I put myself on a loaf-scription. And so every Thursday morning, he brings me 6 feet away a bowl of fresh sourdough bread. And so I have basically sourdough toast, and it's just me. So I get a whole loaf of sourdough bread to myself. And so that's basically from like all weekend, I basically just have like sourdough toast
that is incredible.
For breakfast, or sometimes it's just like all I want for dinner is like
Ryan Maxwell,
of toast and a cup of tea.
To Brooklyn.
What I will say is, and
he's like shipped to California.
I will say I make this joke a lot, but we are 100% going to get that contact info from you. And if any listeners want a sourdough bowl, if they want to support this local business,
Ryan Maxwell, we got you.
Yes, it is. It is so great. And so, and not only is it delicious, but I get to see an actual person every week who's a friend. And it's just, it's something to look forward to, which is always really important right now. So, yes. So fresh sourdough bread is getting me through.
That is a good answer, John Bavoso. That is a good answer.
Anything else on the brain? Rachel, you got anything left?
No, I'm just, for those of you listening at home, Ned has looked both as jealous and as just stricken as I have ever seen him on this Zoom call for the last 2.5 minutes. He wants that sourdough bowl so bad. And we'll take a picture of his face and we'll put it on the website for those of you who want to see it. I got it. John, thank you so much for being here with us today. Truly, thank you for your plays. For more information about John, for more information about his plays and all of what he's up to, please head to our website, which Ned will say now.
It is chargingmoosemedia.com/atthetablepodcast. Someday we'll get it on Rachel's brain.
Chargingmoosemedia.com/tables. It's so close. It's so close. I have a lot on my mind right now. Like I have to go eat more grits. It's all very exciting. But in the interim, in all of this, John, please be well, stay safe and healthy. And thank you so much for your time and your plays.
Thank you, John.
Same to you. Thank you so much. This was great.
You've been listening to At the Table, a play reading series, produced by Charging Moose Media. For more information on our playwright, John Bavoso, including photos of his tattoos that comprise his body of work, and a link to the Loafscription service, visit our website at chargingmoosemedia.com/atthetablepodcast. Link also in the show notes. We are hosted by Rachel Flynn and Ned Donovan. Our artistic director and senior producer is Rachel Flynn. Editor is Ned Donovan. Associate producer is Megan Bagala. Music by Marcus Thorne Bagala. Special thanks to our playwright John Bavoso. You can find us on social media at the Table Plays. Please connect with us. See you next time.